The Delta pilots have already have an agreement, apparently, before the boards agreed on this, the equity stake, so forth. Are you clear that you would not be able to get that deal or a comparable deal? Has that deal been offered to you?
I think it's very unfortunate that the Delta pilots negotiated without the Northwest pilots an agreement. They spent 2 weeks doing it, when clearly there could have been, instead of a bilateral negotiation, a three-way negotiation, which we've done before. We already had most of the issues in the joint contract nailed down. There's only, as Richard Anderson, Ed Bastian, the senior leadership of the Delta Airlines and the merged airlines have pointed out, there are very few variables that they want to discuss. While they are tough decisions, it's not a complicated negotiation. I find it extremely unfortunate that they didn't initiate those negotiations in advance. There's tremendous synergies and benefits that are available to the new corporation if they have a joint contract and seniority done, which was done during the exploratory process. It's all done, but a few items. If those were done before the transaction effective date, there is the potential to have earnings of 3 to 4 times what is available with just having an arrangement with the Delta pilots. On top of that, it doesn't even consider the problems of discord between the two groups, unless the intention is to have a divided employee group.
So is the only sticking point the seniority list?
There are several variables within the seniority list, but they are while they mean a lot to both pilot groups, they can easily be remedied in expedited arbitration.
So were you offered this Delta package, the equity stake, the 2-year furlough protection, and the pay raises 09 to 012, or 12, were you offered that deal?
The frustrating part was, in the earlier negotiations in February, all of this was available to both groups. And actually, it was a richer package. If arbitration had been accepted at that time, we would all be benefiting from the increases that were in that contract. But more importantly, the merged airline would be off to a much stronger start because it would have the approved synergies, which gives it the possibility of making more money and more than enough money to pay for the pay raise.
So you think that the Delta pilots sold out?
I won't comment on what their position is. It is not a position I would have taken. I would not have negotiated a contract with Delta or the Delta company and executives without the Delta pilots present.
Can you talk about what remedy you think you may have? Does the union have the power to end the deal? Do lawmakers at a federal or state level, can they lend you any help? What do you see as your remedies?
Well, I think the remedy and the greatest power is for you to explain to the through the financial press the challenges that are here. I mean, it seems to me, and I find it very difficult to understand, why you don't get the contract. Take the risk out of this. Get the contract, the seniority done in advance. Within the contract is what allows this new merged company to make a lot more money. It allows them to use all the different synergies to put more money on the top line for a nominal extra cost on wages, which would result in a much higher bottom line. I mean, we're in a high-risk scenario right now. No one's seen fuel over $100. There isn't any more money to tap, so that both airlines have their cash on hand that they currently have. They need to figure it out, get it done right the first time. While they wait for the synergies to kick in, they'll be burning through cash. During that period that they're burning through cash, the more money that's at the end of the rainbow for them, the better scenario they face.
Is there a realistic chance that this might be ironed out in the next 6 to 9 months between you and the company?
Well, it could have been ironed out in the 2 weeks that Mr. Anderson and his team were negotiating with the Delta pilots. So I think 6 to 9 months. The biggest problem is it might be too much time.
Is some of this bad blood with the union and Richard Anderson stemming back from the days when he was CEO?
I don't think it's bad blood. I think we're disappointed. He should have known better.
The precedent for this kind of disagreement with pilots is U.S. Air, and I think it was American West 3 years ago. Can you talk about the problems that that airline has encountered because they don't have an agreement with both pilot unions? What have we seen with U.S. Air, and do you think we'd see the same with the Northwest Delta merger?
Well, there clearly are problems between U.S. Airways and America West, but I'd rather focus on the problems that I see that potentially between Delta and Northwest. This is a great possibility of an airline, a great merged airline. It's the best opportunity for the two airlines to survive if it takes advantage of all the opportunities they have in their route system and with their fleet. But if they don't take advantage of the fleet and make use of all the synergies, the burn rate will be too fast. And you certainly, every business, customer service business, knows you want your employees to be a positive part of your business. Happy employees are your best selling point.
So what kind of repercussions could this mean for the airline with you pilots? What kind of action can you take?
Well, our action is to use the things we have in what we call our scope language. The parts that allow us to preserve flying for the Northwest pilots that the Delta pilots have given up for themselves. And certainly, we will not give up. We will use everything in our scope to make sure our pilots are fairly treated, as well as Northwest employees. It is interesting to note in the release from the new merged company, the only group that was left out of getting equity were the Northwest pilots.
Are you considering striking, anything like that?
I don't think striking is even on the roadmap here. That's what we're talking about is how do we bring two groups together and work the best to have the best chance of success. If the synergies aren't allowed to happen, we're better off being standalone. If you think about what we have here, we have a great route structure, especially internationally. We have a very diverse fleet. We have very fuel-efficient aircraft on order. And most importantly, of all the legacy carriers, we have the most cash on hand. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.